The first time Tracy saw him, she dropped her coffee. Not because he was beautiful, though he was, in a way that felt almost unfair, but because of how he looked at her, like he'd been waiting. She'd just landed in Seoul that morning, jet-lagged and irritable, dragging 2 suitcases through the lobby of her father's apartment building, when she collided with a wall of expensive cologne and crisp linen. The coffee cup hit the marble floor with a splash, and she looked up to apologize and forgot every word she knew. He was younger than she expected, mid-20s maybe, with sharp cheekbones and an unreadable calm that made the air around him feel still. He wore his suit the way some men wore confidence, like it had been made specifically to announce he didn't need to try. "You're bleeding," he said, instead of anything else, nodding toward her hand. She looked down. A thin red line had opened across her knuckle from the broken cup. "I'm fine," she said quickly, stepping back. He didn't move. "You're not." He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket. Actual cloth, not tissue. Who even carried those anymore? And held it out. Tracy hesitated, then took it. "Thanks." "You're American," he said, not a question. "Mixed, but yeah, raised in the States." She dabbed at her hand, painfully aware of him watching her, like she was something unusual he'd stumbled across in a museum. "Do you live here?" "I visit." His eyes moved over her face slowly, like he was memorizing it. "What's your name?" "Tracy." She said it before she could decide whether she should. "Tracy," he repeated, like he was testing the shape of it. "I'm Sung-min." A staff member rushed over with napkins and apologies, breaking whatever strange current had been running between them. Tracy used the distraction to step away, murmuring something about needing to find her father's unit, and didn't look back until she was in the elevator. When the doors closed, she let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Upstairs, her father greeted her with a tight hug and a tired smile, his wife Adeze hovering nearby in a silk robe, scrolling through her phone with the particular distraction of someone expecting a message. "How was the flight?" her father asked. "Long." Tracy glanced at her hand, the small cut still stinging faintly. "I ran into someone downstairs. Sung-min? Tall, kind of intense." Adeze's head snapped up so fast her phone nearly slipped from her hand. "Sung-min?" she repeated carefully, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Small world." Tracy didn't think much of it then. She would, soon enough. Tracy didn't expect to see him again so soon, especially not standing in her father's living room, holding a glass of wine, like he belonged there. "You two have met?" her father asked, glancing between them. "Briefly," Sung-min said smoothly, his eyes flicking to Tracy with the faintest curve of a smile. "In the lobby." Adeze appeared from the kitchen, perfectly composed except for the tightness around her mouth. "Sung-min is a business associate of mine. He stopped by to discuss some investment details." "On a Sunday?" Tracy asked, before she could stop herself. "Markets don't sleep," Sung-min said simply, his gaze never leaving her. Dinner was an exercise in tension Tracy couldn't name. Sung-min sat across from her, effortlessly charming her father with talk of finance and Seoul real estate, while Adeze grew quieter with every passing minute. Tracy caught her stepmother watching Sung-min like she was trying to read something off his face and catching nothing. "Tracy's starting an internship next week," her father said proudly. "Marketing firm downtown." "Which one?" Sung-min asked. "Harlow and Min," Tracy said, surprised he cared. Something shifted in his expression. Brief, controlled, gone before anyone else noticed. "Small company. Good reputation." "You know it?" "I know most things in this city," He said it lightly, but there was weight underneath, like a door cracking open just enough to glimpse a much bigger room. After dinner, Tracy stepped onto the balcony for air, the city stretching out in glittering rows below. She hadn't been out there a full minute before the door slid open behind her. "You don't seem like you enjoy these dinners," Sung-min said, joining her at the railing. "I just met everyone tonight, including you, twice. Third time's usually the one that matters." He turned to face her fully, and the city lights caught the sharp line of his jaw. "Be careful with Harlow and Min." "Why?" "Because people who work there sometimes end up owing favors to people they shouldn't." He said it casually, but his eyes were serious. "I'd rather you didn't." "You'd rather?" Tracy laughed softly, equal parts amused and unsettled. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." He stepped closer, not aggressively, but with the kind of certainty that made the distance between them feel smaller than it should. "I knew enough the moment you dropped that coffee." Her pulse stumbled. "That's a strange thing to say to your business associate's stepdaughter." "Is it?" His voice dropped, quieter now. "I don't think I said anything strange. I think you're just not used to people being honest with you." Behind them, the balcony door slid open again. Adeze stood in the frame, her expression carefully blank. "Sung-min," she said, "it's getting late." He held Tracy's gaze a second longer before turning. "Of course." But as he passed Tracy to go inside, his hand brushed hers, deliberate, lingering just slightly too long to be accidental. Tracy stood frozen on the balcony long after he'd gone, staring at her own fingers like they belonged to someone else. The internship started Monday, and by Wednesday, Tracy was certain someone was watching her. Not in a frightening way. More like she kept noticing things. A car that idled near the office a beat too long. A coffee delivered to her desk with no note, just her exact order, down to the oat milk. When she asked the front desk who'd sent it, they just shrugged. She had a guess. She just didn't want to be right. Thursday evening, she stayed late finishing a deck, and by the time she left, the building was nearly empty. The streets outside were slick with rain, and she'd just realized she'd left her umbrella at her desk when a black car pulled smoothly to the curb beside her. The window rolled down. "Get in," Sung-min said. "You'll catch a cold." "I can call a cab." "You can. Or you can get in the car that's already here." He pushed the door open from the inside, an unspoken invitation that felt more like a foregone conclusion. Tracy hesitated only a moment before sliding in, telling herself it was just the rain. The car was warm, quiet, smelled faintly of cedar and something clean she couldn't place. Sung-min didn't say anything for a while, just watched the city blur past the window, occasionally glancing at her, like he was checking she was still there. "Did you send the coffee?" she finally asked. "Doesn't matter." "It's a little intense. We've talked twice." "3 times now," he corrected, turning to face her. "And I don't do anything halfway, Tracy. If that bothers you, you should say so now." "And if it doesn't bother me?" The question slipped out before she'd thought it through, and something in his expression shifted, a flicker of restraint cracking, just slightly. "Then I'd say you're a braver woman than most," he murmured, leaning closer. "Because I don't let go of things I want." The air between them felt charged, thick with unspoken things. Tracy's gaze dropped to his mouth before she could stop it, and when she looked back up, he was watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Sung-min." He closed the distance, his hand cupping her jaw gently, and kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It was slow, deliberate, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment and intended to savor it. Tracy's hands found the lapels of his jacket, pulling him closer instinctively, and he responded by deepening the kiss, one hand sliding to the small of her back. When they finally broke apart, both breathing unevenly, he rested his forehead against hers. "I shouldn't have done that," he said quietly, though nothing in his voice suggested regret. "Why not?" "Because now I want to do it again, and again, and I don't think I'll be able to stop." The car slowed outside her building. Tracy reached for the door handle, pausing just before stepping out. "Don't send coffee," she said softly. "Send your number instead." His slow smile followed her all the way up to her apartment. Adeze found out on a Tuesday, and it started with a text message that wasn't meant for her. She was scrolling through Sungmin's phone while he showered, something she'd done before, checking for other women, other deals, anything that might give her leverage in whatever this arrangement between them actually was. A new message lit up the screen from a contact saved simply as T. "Thank you for the flowers. You really didn't have to send 3 dozen roses to my workplace, LOL. Everyone's asking questions now." Adeze's thumb hovered over the screen. She told herself it was nothing. A coworker, a client. Sungmin was generous like that, calculated generosity, the kind that bought loyalty. She opened the chat. The messages went back weeks, late-night conversations, photos. Tracy laughing at some restaurant Adeze recognized because she'd recommended it to Sungmin herself. A photo of Tracy asleep on what was unmistakably the back seat of his car, his jacket draped over her like a blanket, captioned only with a single word from Sungmin: "Mine." The bathroom door opened. Sungmin stepped out, towel slung low, and stopped when he saw her face. "Adeze?" "Tracy." Her voice came out flat, almost calm, which was somehow worse than if she'd screamed. "My stepdaughter. You're seeing my stepdaughter." He didn't deny it. He didn't even look surprised that she knew, just resigned, like he'd been waiting for this conversation and was almost relieved it had finally arrived. "It's not what you think," he said. "Don't." She set the phone down carefully on the dresser, her hands trembling despite her best efforts. "Don't insult me by pretending this is complicated. You've been disappearing for weeks. I thought—" Her voice cracked, and she hated herself for it. "I thought it was business." "Adeze, what we had was never—" "What we had?" She laughed, sharp and humorless. "I left my husband's bed for you. I lied to him for months for you. And the entire time you were—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "She's 20. She's a child." "She's an adult," Sungmin said quietly but firmly. "And I'm sorry you're hurt. I never meant for that. But I won't apologize for how I feel about her." Adeze stared at him, searching his face for any trace of guilt, any flicker of the man she thought she'd known. She found none. Just quiet, immovable certainty, the same certainty she'd once mistaken for devotion to her. "Does she know?" Adeze asked finally. "Does Tracy know about us?" His silence answered for him. "No," Adeze said softly, almost to herself, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across her face. "She doesn't know at all." She picked up his phone again, this time scrolling to her own contact in Tracy's information, and began typing. "Adeze." "I think," she said without looking up, "it's time my stepdaughter and I had a little talk." The knock on Tracy's door came just after 9. She opened it expecting takeout. What she got instead was Adeze, perfectly composed, holding out a phone like an offering. "You should see this," Adeze said. Tracy took the phone hesitantly. The screen showed a thread of messages, photos, months of conversation between Adeze and Sungmin. Dates back further than Tracy had even known him. Hotel confirmations, a photo of the two of them together, Adeze's hand resting familiarly on his chest, both of them laughing at something off camera. Tracy's stomach dropped. "He's been seeing me for almost a year," Adeze said quietly, watching Tracy's face. "Your father doesn't know. I didn't want you to find out this way, but I couldn't let you keep—" She paused. "I couldn't let him use you, too." "Use me?" Tracy's voice came out hoarse. "He does this." Adeze's eyes were glassy, but her voice stayed steady. "He gets bored. He finds someone new, someone exciting, and he moves on. I should know." After Adeze left, Tracy sat on the edge of her bed for a long time, staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed. Sungmin, asking if she was free that evening. She didn't reply. He showed up anyway, an hour later, knocking with the particular patience of someone who already suspected something was wrong. "You're not answering," he said when she opened the door. "Were you sleeping with Adeze?" The question landed between them like something physical. Sungmin's expression didn't change, but something in his posture went very still. "Was," he said carefully. "Past tense. It ended the night you and I—" "For how long, Sungmin?" 8 months. No hesitation, no softening it. "It was never serious. It was convenient, for both of us, and it ended the moment I met you." "Convenient." Tracy laughed bitterly, blinking back tears she refused to let fall. "She's my stepmother. You sat at our dinner table. You smiled at my father while you were—" "I know." His voice cracked slightly, the first crack she'd ever heard in it. "I know how it looks. I know what I did. But Tracy, the moment I saw you, everything before that stopped mattering. I ended things with her that same week. And you didn't think I deserved to know that before you kissed me in your car? I was a coward." He stepped closer, and for once there was no calculated calm in him, just rawness, something close to desperation. "I didn't want to lose you before I even had you. That's the truth. It's not a good reason, but it's the only one I have." Tracy turned away, arms wrapped around herself, staring out at the city lights blurring through unshed tears. "I need you to leave," she said quietly. Sungmin didn't move for a long moment. Then, softly, "Okay." The door closed behind him, and Tracy finally let herself cry. Not just for him, but for how easily she'd let herself believe in something that complicated. Tracy didn't see Sungmin for 11 days. She buried herself in work, in late nights at the office, in anything that kept her mind too busy to spiral. Her father noticed she'd gone quiet. Adeze, oddly, kept her distance too, and within a week, packed a bag and left without much explanation, only a brief, tired conversation with Tracy's father behind closed doors that ended in hushed voices and finally, silence. Whatever truth came out, it wasn't Tracy's to carry anymore. On the 12th day, she found a small wooden box on her desk at work. No card, no name, just her own initials carved gently into the lid. Inside was the handkerchief, the one from their first meeting, cleaned and pressed, with a note tucked beneath it in careful handwriting. "I told you I don't let go of things I want, but I also won't make you stay if you don't want to be held. I'll be at the lobby tonight, 7 o'clock. If you don't come, I won't ask again. S.M. asterisk. Tracy stared at the note for a long time. At 6:58 that evening, she stepped into the lobby of her building, heart pounding, and found him already there, standing exactly where they'd first collided, hands in his pockets, looking more nervous than she'd ever seen him. "You came," he said softly. "I almost didn't." "I know." He took a careful step closer, giving her room to back away if she wanted to. She didn't. "Tracy, I can't undo what happened with Adeze. I won't pretend it wasn't real, even if it was the wrong kind of real. But what I feel for you isn't convenient, or temporary, or anything close to what I had with her. It's the first thing in my life I've never wanted to walk away from." "You scared me," she admitted quietly. "Not because of what you did, because of how much I wanted to forgive you anyway." "Then let me earn it," he said, slowly, however long it takes. Tracy closed the distance between them, resting her palm against his chest, feeling his heartbeat racing despite his composed exterior. "No more secrets," she said. "Ever." "Ever," he promised, and kissed her, softer than before, full of quiet relief, like a held breath finally released. 3 months later, Tracy's father walked her down a short aisle in a small garden ceremony, sunlight pouring over white flowers and soft laughter. Sung-min stood waiting, dressed simply, watching her the same way he had the very first time, like he'd been waiting for her his whole life, and finally, the waiting was over. When they exchanged rings, he leaned in and whispered against her ear, "Mine. Finally, completely, mine." And for the first time, Tracy let herself believe it, fully, without fear, without looking back.